So, Halo Campaign Evolved is now finally out, and huge thanks to Microsoft, or Xbox I should say, for kicking me a key so I could check this one out early. And when given the choice about which key to grab, I was very tempted to go for the PlayStation 5 version or the Xbox version, but ultimately I decided to go for a Steam key instead, because I'd already covered the Halo Master Chief Collection a few years back in that video I did about my favorite space games on the Steam Deck, so I kind of already had some comparison footage that I could draw from, not just to do an apples-to-apples comparison to see what the campaign here looks like versus in the Master Chief Collection, but also to get a better idea of what the performance details were going to be like, considering this is going to be a way more demanding game than its predecessor. So that's what we'll be doing today, is just taking a quick look at the game itself and some of the things that it has to offer, what my experience was like in particular when it came to the Steam Deck, and then we'll close things out with just a few final thoughts I have on the Halo franchise as a whole and what I hope this means for the future. But first, I did want to speak on my personal history with Halo just a little bit. And to be honest, I was not somebody who played the original Halo right from the jump to the Xbox launch. In fact, I wasn't even a huge fan of the original Xbox when it first came out, and I didn't really think it would be a serious contender with Nintendo and Sony. But a good friend of mine did believe in the Xbox brand and got one of the original Xboxes, and when he came out of town to visit in 2002, that is when I first got my taste of Halo the original game, and I ended up having a great time with it, and it became a really fun sort of couch co-op memory for me. But I would say my love and appreciation for Halo really ramped up where a lot of people's did, and that was with the Halo 2 launch. The midnight launch for that was absolutely insane, and that was at a period in my life where I was just spending so much time playing Team Deathmatch with friends online, and Halo 2 was probably singularly the console game with which I spent the most time during that generation, and probably for a few generations since, if I'm being honest. And naturally, I was super excited when Halo 3 came out because you saw that tagline, "Finish the fight everywhere." I had a can of the Mountain Dew, which sadly has since exploded and degraded after many years of just sitting on my shelf. But I would say that after the original Halo 3, or, well, Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST, because I really liked the moody atmosphere in that one, I kind of started to fall off Halo a little bit. I enjoyed Halo Reach and to a lesser degree Halo 4, but by the time we got around to Halo 5 and Infinite, I just wasn't that excited for Halo anymore. I mean, every now and then I might jump into a game if I had a friend who really wanted to play it or something, but ultimately it was just not my cup of tea the same way that I felt about the original 3. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a Halo aficionado, but I've played enough of it to know when a Halo feels good and when it does not feel so great. And thankfully I can say with confidence that Halo Campaign Evolved feels wonderful. And even though the primary draw for a game like this of course is going to be the visuals when you do a ground up overhaul and just completely recreate a game, everything that exists underneath of it, which is the frantic moment-to-moment gameplay of Halo, is completely intact and with a few quality of life improvements at that. Enemy variety keeps you on your toes in a variety of scenarios, like internal versus external engagements, the presence or absence of vehicles can definitely turn the tide of a battle, and the AI remains super tricky even at the standard difficulty, and I'm not ashamed to say that I had more than a few sections where I got absolutely rocked even at standard difficulty. That is, until that ancient muscle memory started to kick in, and I started to make far more effective use of Chief's abilities and loadout. Speaking of which, it does bring some of the later abilities from the series back into the original with things like vehicle hijacking and weapons that came in later in the series like the battle rifle, my personal favorite. Overall, it just feels wonderful to play. Combat engagements are varied and fulfilling, and even though I don't personally love the interior design in a lot of the levels in Halo games, only because I think they can sometimes look a little bit generic, I will say they are incredibly well done from a playability standpoint, and the same is true here. Don't get me wrong, again, I think the environments are great for shootouts, I just always thought there should be more bathrooms or something in Halo, but maybe that's just me and I'm just being nitpicky, but that's probably why we should move on to talking about the visuals a little bit right now, because this game is absolutely gorgeous, although with some definite limitations if you are playing it on the Steam Deck. Now, I know that Unreal Engine 5 isn't necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but I think it looks by and large pretty incredible, even at the lower frame rate that I had to work with on the Steam Deck. And if you're watching this video full screen on a massive TV, it's probably going to look pretty rough since I captured most of this footage at 720p, but I promise if you are playing it in handheld mode on the Steam Deck, it looks pretty gorgeous, and I'm sure even more so if you have the OLED model. The cutscenes are a real treat, and looking at how they appeared in Master Chief Collection versus Campaign Evolved, it's kinda crazy just how far the visuals have come, especially considering nowadays you really don't think about graphical leaps them being that big between generations the way it was back in like the 5th to the 6th, or the 6th to the 7th, for example. Now when it comes to the audio, that might be a little bit jarring for veterans because they did re-record the voice lines for this game. Now, personally, I don't think they sound demonstrably worse or better than the original. I don't know that they really needed to redo the voice lines, but I didn't have any major issue with it, but hey, if you're a longtime series faithful, I would definitely love to hear your thoughts on what the delivery sounds like to you. I mean, I guess the most I can say about it is the moment-to-moment sound design, like when you're in the thick of the action, is totally fine, but some of the character voiceovers do sound just a little bit off to me for some reason that I can't quite put my finger on, or I could just be massively overthinking this. But I think the most breathtaking part overall when it came to the presentation of Halo Campaign Evolved is probably just how well these giant set pieces hold up, and how there really is a brilliant sense of scale to sort of get lost in while you enjoy the adventure once again, just this time with a gorgeous new coat of paint. Now when it comes to Steam Deck performance, I was a little bit worried out of the gate update because at first the game did crash on me right after I got done installing it, which was not encouraging at all. And then after relaunching it, I did have to go through the process of linking my Steam account with my Xbox account, which is kind of an annoying thing, but also it does have kind of a cool feature where it will let your save progress from your Steam play carry over to the Xbox. So if you are somebody who's planning to play it also on an Xbox console with something like Game Pass, or you're buying a copy for a console, could be pretty helpful. And honestly, you probably should play it someplace else other than the Steam Deck, because it's not unplayable by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely pushing what the Steam Deck can handle. For the graphics preset, Campaign Evolved defaults to very low settings, and honestly that seemed about right. For the resolution and fidelity trade-off testing, I tried 1080p at first on very low, and I think you might be able to do low settings as well, as long as you're okay with occasional frame rate drops down into the 20s, which is kind of pushing it for me. But at 720p, you can more comfortably inch towards low or medium graphics, which are still pretty decent, but it's not going to be a solid 30 FPS. And really, I would say that's probably about the most you'll be getting here. Maybe if you got really granular with it, you could maybe eke it out to 40 FPS, but I was not able to do that myself, and honestly, I really wasn't that concerned because 30 FPS is not a huge sin to me. I think it plays just great, even if it is obviously not as smooth as 60 FPS or naturally 40 FPS if you lock down the frame rate and refresh rate. Now, if the Steam Deck is your only option and you're trying to decide between playing this or the Master Chief Collection, it's not really an apples-to-apples comparison, again, because the Master Chief Collection, I believe, came out back in 2014, I want to say. It didn't come to PC till I think 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. It is a much older, much less demanding collection of games that were predominantly from the Xbox 360 and original Xbox era, where Campaign Evolved has much more complex systems of play for things like physics, particles, and lighting. But again, make no mistake, even though this is a ground-up remake of the 2001 classic, it is still Halo's bones through and through, and I think that's the thing that really stuck with me the most after my time with it. The game is definitionally, or just foundationally fun, because Halo is a great time. And as for the future, I really hope this game does gangbusters, because as Xbox continues to refocus its efforts, I feel like we're really starting to see a turnaround after watching them fumble through most of this generation. And even if they do opt to play it a little bit safe to get there by focusing on things like classic Gears titles, or Fallout with New Vegas and 3 which are in the works, or Elder Scrolls, I think I'm okay with it as long as they can reinvigorate the brand and just get people excited for Xbox games again. Not just games, or not just games that can play on Xbox, actual exclusive Xbox games. Which, I mean, obviously this is kind of a poor example, right, because it is available on the PlayStation, but yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I don't mind Xbox going back to the well of games that really defined the Xbox brand early on to kind of get people excited for it again, because if this game is any indication of the kind of quality we can expect moving forward with more titles that kind of take that same formula, I'm definitely on board with it. So yeah, long story short, I'm really enjoying my time with Halo Campaign Evolved so far, and I can only hope that Xbox does the same thing to 2, 3, and other later entries as well at some point. But yeah, I think I will probably continue my time with Campaign Evolved either on the Xbox or my gaming rig, because even though it is totally playable on the Steam Deck, what is playable for me may not be playable for you if you're somebody who just detests the idea of 30 FPS. But, as always, this is just one guy's opinion, so what about you? Are you planning on picking this up yourself? Or if you've already spent some time with it, what do you think of Campaign Evolved so far? I would love to hear about it in the comments below. That's going to be it for this one. As always, thank you so much for your time and watching videos here on the channel. It really does mean a lot to me. Take care, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.